庆就是我们跟主要高中今天的这个叫线上的讲座在现在我们很高兴吧，今天能请到就是说主要高中的2位老师，一个呢是主要高中的招生主管就是说 Scott Conklin 老师。还有就是他们的副总监，就是说Ben 就在这里的 Benjamin Douglas 在这里的话，跟我们就是说分享一下有关 EHS 的可能各种的情况还有就是说跟大家介绍一下 EHS 是一个怎么样的一个学校因为今天的话呢，就是说 Scott 老师吧，他也会有一个比较重要的一个会议，所以呢，今天的话呢，我们在今天讲座之前的话呢，熟悉了一些问题就可能他希望自己亲自吧，能够跟各位家长的话呢，去可能回答一下，就是各位家长有的一些可能一些比较关注的一些问题吧。所以今年的话呢，我跟 Sandy 老师在这儿的话呢，会负责翻译所以一会的话呢，可能就会首先会让老师说他们用英语就说一段，然后我们会提供翻译然后他们再说这样的一个方式来进行所以现在的话呢，反正我就马上开始，就有请的 Scott 跟 Ben 2位老师来跟着我们今天的这个分享。All right, so thank you very much, Scott. Thank you very much, Ben. For joining us today. It's there's a time difference. We're hours away, but very glad that we're still able to to host an event like this. And so because I've told the crowd that because Scott will have a meeting to attend to later on. So we have collected. I know that we have collected some questions beforehand that I know that Scott would like to address directly to the families. So would you like me to ask the questions directly, or do you have the questions on hand that you feel like you can speak directly to the crowd?
Either one works.
Okay, good. All right, so I'll just probably I'll do both English and Chinese, and then Scott, you can go ahead and answer them. 好的，那首先吧，就在之前这一段时间吧，我们收到比较多的一些问题。首先的话呢，就是说有关 EHS 最近的这个情况，因为可能他们应该在过去的2个月到3个月左右，都是以线上的这个学习来进行然后的话呢，就 Scott 老师希望跟大家分享一下吧，就是说EHS 最近的这个情况。So, Scott, if you don't mind, please share with the audience, a little bit about how the online learning has been going on, at EHS, how EHS has been reacting or dealing, with the current situation.
Sure. Well, first, I'd like to thank Xian and Foundation Global Education for hosting us this evening, and it's a great opportunity for us to speak with you. And I know Ben's excited to share more about Episcopal High School, and I'm happy to take on these questions. I know they're on everybody's mind right now, and with the goal of being on campus in mid-March, and we shifted to online learning at the end of March. And so we shifted to online learning on March 23rd, I believe, and this is our last week. So students will meet with their class one more time this week to wrap up. And so we've done kind of an asynchronous and synchronous learning approach. Each class is met synchronously twice a week for 45 minutes. So our students have had difficulty making the classes. All of those are recorded. So the students maybe perhaps cannot attend a synchronous class have been able to go back and watch that.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Scott.
那就是刚才 Scott 老师呢都讲到呢，就是说从春假结束之后到现在，就是学期呢，就是这周会结束，然后就大概是2个月的时间，就是这2个月都是以线上学习为主的。可能大家也知道，就是 EHS 是一个就是100%的寄宿学校。然后这个是在美高里面是比较少见的，就是在美国现在只有几所的学校是还有就是100%是寄宿，所以就是说学校就是做了很多的努力，在确保就是说怎么学校里面呢他们会安排每周就是2次的这个就是会议，然后就是说也有一些时间是可以1对1老师跟学生去做一个交流。然后呢，就是这2个月学生的过渡还是挺不错的，然后很多的一些活动还是在线上继续举行，例如说崇拜，或者是一些就是大家的委员会顾问这一些的一些就是会议，他们还是会继续的保持。而且像昨天晚上也做了一个，就是说会请一个嘉宾做一个就是讲座，所以这一些都是 边在的线上，但是也是还是能够保持大家紧密的一个联系。然后如果说有这个时差的问题，大家没法就是及时的上课的时候呢，所有的课程呢都是会有录影，所以大家是可以随时去重温。
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sandy. All right. Good. So, of course, I guess, the semester is finishing by now, and a lot of the families are actually looking forward to, I guess, the upcoming, admission season. So let's say a lot of things that might be affected, such as whether they can visit campus. Some of the families might also be, worried, let's say about standardized testing being canceled because they can't really do it in person. So there are quite a lot of, questions, in their mind, and they're hoping, to hear directly, from you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think everyone's kind of struggling with how the fall will look in terms of the admissions process and visits and standardized testing. And I think what we're preaching and most of the schools that I've talked to are using the word flexibility and understanding. So I want our families to know that are going through the application process, looking for the fall of 21, that we're going to work with you. And, in all regards, I think there could be, we're not quite sure yet what the fall will look like in terms of our ability to host visitors on campus, domestically or international. So that's something that we're still working through. Hopefully we can have visitors over the course of the fall or even in the winter. I think you could see a situation where timelines are pushed back a little bit in the hope that, if things aren't really open in the fall, that perhaps they are in the winter, and we would push back our application deadline and notification deadlines. I think that will be something that schools discuss, the further we get into the process. So I think that will be important for families to continue to track and to see if there are any adjustments in timelines. And so if you're not able to visit potentially in October, November, maybe you are in January or February. And for accepted students, certainly the revisit day programs, I think, students would have the opportunity to see campus before they would have to make a decision. In terms of the standardized testing, we'll see what the fall holds in terms of, testing availability. And ultimately, if students aren't able to take standardized testing for, reasons, for it being shut down or not being offered, that, it's likely that we would waive that part of the application. So that's something that we're discussing, but we're not going to hold students who cannot take the test. We will allow them to complete the application process and will not hold, their inability to get to a standardized test and submit that against them in the application process.
Okay, got it. 好了，刚刚就是说也问了一下，就是说有关Scott 老师吧，就是说关于今年申请的一些安排或者情况。其实老师刚刚说的，可能今年的这个他们可能学校最大的这个叫态度吧，就是说保持这个叫弹性，就是说，因为当然呢，学校现在还没有一个绝对的一个答案，除了 EHS 以外吧，包括其他的一些技术学校，其实现在还是没有说一个很绝对一个答案的。就比如说到底往后几个月的情况会是怎么样，到底能不能访校，能不能面试之类的。那但是但是刚刚就老师的话呢，也说了一些的可能性，比如说其中一个可能性吧，就是说如果他们比如说有些事情吧，也许比如说在秋季的时候是不能进行，但是也许在冬季的时候会可能恢复正常的话，那学校会考虑的话呢，就是说把整个申请的这个时间线就往后退，比如说一个晚一点点的截止时间，还有一个晚一点点的比如说录取的这个通知的这个时间包括就是说学生吧，那比如说有可能在10月份还是不能访校的，但也许1月份能访校，那可能2月份的话呢，学校也会开放给学生去访校。另外一个问题的话，老师也刚回答的话呢，是有关变化的这个事情，因为现在很多的家庭吧也在担心，就是说因为现在托福刚刚也公布了6月份会给取消，那学校的话呢，最起码他们觉得学校态度吧是很体谅，就是说各位的这个申请的这个学生的，就是说如果最起码在学生不可控的这个情况上面，如果你是不能够完成一个考试或没有这个分数的话学校还是会容许你的申请，然后这 这个的话呢，也不会说对你们的申请有这个负面的影响。当然呢，这个现在学校方面还没有一个最终的答案，这个也许要等到往后的这个时间吧，我们才会知道啊。这个是学校目前的这个态度。Okay.
And the other thing I would add to that is that, schools now more than ever are putting together virtual content, sessions like this, virtual tours of campus, open houses online. So, despite families might not be able to get to campus, there are still a lot of ways to learn about schools through their virtual programming.
OK， 然后呢，学校的话呢，也现在越来越多学校的话呢，也准备了更多的线上的这个资源，比如说线上的访校啊，或者说影片啊这样的。所以学校方面的话呢，也会尽力的话呢，就是通过不同的这个方式来让学校各个家庭的话去了解一下这些学校是什么样的的环境，还有他们是怎么样的一个学校。OK， Thank you. So just to understand a little bit, so in the preparation of the fall, how's EHS doing, or what is the school working on right now, to, I guess, whether to, I guess in the eventual reopening, whether it's in September or later date?
Yeah, well, there's certainly a lot to talk through and a lot of logistics, and we just had a couple sessions with our current families and new families last week with our head of school to talk through some of the things that we're thinking about. And I think our primary concern is making sure that if and when we come back, our students are coming back to, a place where we can support them from a health standpoint. And that's certainly our priority. Our goal as of now is to return in the fall, in September. There's even talk that maybe we'll push that up to come back later in August, to get here a week or two earlier. And I think screening, testing, social distancing are all going to be parts of our community when students first come back. So I think we'll likely see less community moments, being in chapel together with 500, 440 students and over, about 100 faculty, or in meal settings would likely not be all community settings at the beginning, but our goal is to be back on campus. I think we'll have some type of hybrid virtual teaching in addition to in-person classes. So knowing that there may be some students who can't be back for various reasons, whether they're coming from, hotspots in the United States or internationally, or students have trouble obtaining visas, or may not be able to get here until later in the fall, that we're going to offer virtual programming so that those students can stay caught up with their classes until they arrive. So we're really preparing for all different scenarios. We've also talked about potentially having a longer break from Thanksgiving break to Christmas break, as opposed to taking two shorter breaks. And, the transition back and forth, it would be easier to manage with just one long break. So we really are talking about, a lot of different scenarios, but we feel like Episcopal's program is best delivered in person. And that's, we want our students to be back. We also think there are advantages to being in an all boarding environment. When we're 100% boarding and over 90% of the faculty live here, I think our ability to, contain anything is a little bit stronger than, a school that has a day population or people come and going on a daily basis. So we think we're well positioned from that standpoint as well. But we miss our students and we want our students to be here. And, that's when school is a lot more fun, when our students are here in person.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Scott.
那就是刚才 Scott 老师讲到呢，就是学校也是在一直的去讨论怎么能够秋季做这个开学的一个计划。那他们也就是做了很多的讨论，因为就是学生的这个安全跟就是健康肯定是最重要的。现在呢，他们计划会是9月份开学，然后呢，甚至是有可能是早1-2周，就是在8月底的时候就会回到学校，因为他们希望会跟学生做一个就是这个1 病毒的这个测评，还有就是说会保持一些社交距离啊等等。当然就是在这个形式上面，聚会的形式会有一些不一样，因为刚才讲到就是主教高中是一个全寄宿的，然后有400多个学生，然后加上100多个教职员，所以就是说可能以往的这个就是群体的这个崇拜啊，群体的一些聚会啊，可能会有一些不同的改动，然后所以就是说在这个秋季呢，会有一些就是线上跟线下的一些就是课程跟就是活动的一些结合会做。然后，例如说假期的话呢，也有可能是从之前的感恩节跟圣诞节2个短假变成了1个长假，因为这样会更好的去管理，那就避免了就是旅游就是 travel 的这个风险这样子。当然就是学校还是很希望看到学生的，所以大家都是在往这个开学方面做一些努力。
Okay. Yep.
And I'm happy. I don't know if there are any questions related to those topics, but I've 5 or 10 minutes if there are any specific questions that people have.
Okay.
But I'm happy to move on to Ben's session as well.
Okay. Actually, I think I will leave, like the parent Q&A till the end. So I think right now we can move on, to Ben's presentation. But thank you very much, Scott, for joining us today and taking time out of your busy schedule.
Good to see you all, and we look forward to working with your families throughout the application process this fall, and just make sure they reach out with any questions. And you're in good hands with Foundation Global Education. They do a good job of taking care of their families. So.
All right, thank you very much, Scott. Have a nice day. Thank you. All right, bye bye. 好的，那就非常感谢Scott 老师刚刚的一些的分享。那然后现在的话呢，我们就会把这个平台交给Ben 他们副主管Ben 老师，他会跟我们去分享一下吧有关就有关 EHS 的一个介绍。So thank you very much, Ben, for joining us as well. And
thank you, my pleasure.
Yep. So here it's your time now. If you and feel free to start.
All right, I'm going to share my screen.
Good.
Did that work okay?
Yep, we can see it.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jim and Sandy, for having me. Talking about Episcopal is one of my favorite things, so this is a great way to start my day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Oh, there we go. So this is just a quick picture of the front of our campus, the main circle at the very front of the school.
OK， 好，叫大家可以看一下，就这个是刚刚是那个 EHS 的一个正门的一个照片。
Okay, so I thought I'd just start off giving everybody some of the basic facts about Episcopal High School. We have 440 students, and they come from all over the U.S. and all over the world. One of the really nice things about Episcopal High School is that we are 100% boarding. So every single student lives here on campus. It doesn't matter if they are coming from Beijing or from just a block down the road. The students live here on the campus in the dorms and together, which is really, really wonderful. We are 50% boys and 50% girls, so it's a nice even split, a lot of very good diversity and balance there. Academically, we are focusing not just on the academics of the student. We really want to focus on the whole student and their whole experience. And so we are looking to help students develop their honor, to grow spiritually, to develop ethical leadership skills, and also to be of service to their community. And that community could be our local community here at Episcopal High School. It could be our surrounding area, could be the country, could be the world. And we really focus on all of those different layers with our students here. We do have a very dynamic and challenging academic program. All of our students are challenged and really, really pushed academically where they're strong, but there's also a lot of really good support. Scott mentioned earlier, over 90% of our faculty live on campus, as well as 100% of the students. And so finding those moments where students and teachers are just grabbing each other to ask a quick question really quickly, they're all throughout the day. And so if a student is struggling with a certain concept or a certain idea in class, it's really easy to get that extra help. And so it's challenging, but there's still a lot of support and still a lot of help for students to get. We do have really broad programs in both athletics and the fine arts. And so students are exposed to so many things here. Hopefully if a student is really passionate about a certain activity, whether it's in the athletic arena or within the fine arts, we want to be able to provide those experiences here in their disciplines. But we really want to also offer the broad experience so that if a student has never, acted on stage before, but has always wanted to try, we want them to be able to do that. And if a student has always wondered what it would be like to go rock climbing and to be in a rock climbing competition, we want them to be able to do that too. And so there's a lot of neat opportunities for the students in our afternoon options. One of the most unique features of Episcopal High School is that we are so close to Washington, D.C. Door to door, it is less than 10 kilometers from our house here at Episcopal High School to the White House. And so it's, having a 100% boarding school located in, such an important global city is a really amazing experience for the students, both with academic opportunities all throughout the academic week, but then also on weekends when we're going out and doing fun things or even educational things on the weekends. There's just so much at our disposal that the students really get to take advantage of. And Episcopal High School is a very diverse place. We have about 12% of our student population coming from outside of the United States, about 20 and even maybe a little higher for this upcoming year, 20 to 25% are some kind of American minorities. And so everybody is here and learning from each other and learning about new cultures and all kinds of things.
Okay. Got it, awesome. All right, so 那就首先的话呢，先介绍一下有关主要高中的一些基本的这个信息还有背景。那学校的话呢，就是有440个学生，然后是从美国30个州份还有17个国家来的。刚刚就也说过了，就是它是少数的话呢，一个100%住宿的一个学校。那所以的话呢，学校的话就代表，无论你是从北京来的，或者说你是就住在学校隔壁的话，你必须都得住在学校里面。这一个是可能对于学校来说的话呢，做一个寄宿或应该说对于做一个寄宿学校他们可能对所有的这个学校的话呢，也得到同样的一个叫机会，就是说去学习还有去成长。那男生跟女生的比例的话呢，就是说50-50。学校的话呢，当然他们肯定是一个学术的话非常强的一个学校，但是的话呢，他们可能更加重视的话呢，是学生个人的这个成长，无论是从领导力也好无论从服务或者说他们自己精神上面的这个叫成长。当他们受到服务的话呢，其实无论他们是从学校自己的层面，或者说你需要他们当地的这个小区，或者说整个国家甚至全世界这样的一个影响力的话呢，他们都有一些相对的这个机会吧，会支持去学生去做这一方面的事情。因为我会说主要高中吧，是一个在我会说在学术跟活动还有甚至乎我会说在压力吧跟支持方面做的比较好的一个中间做的比较平衡的比较好的一个学校。就比如说，当然学校的作为一个排名比较靠前的一个学校，他们的学术的话肯定是有一定的这个难度的。但是的话呢，他们其实除了100%的学生是寄宿以外，他们90%以上的这个老师都是住在这个学校的这个校园里面的。那所以呢，学生的话还有这个就学生的话呢，其实是非常容易就可以去找到他们的老师，去得到一些额外的这个叫支持或者说得到一些额外的这个叫帮助这样的一个事情。还有呢，然后还有就是学校的话呢，当然他们有一个很全面的这个叫课外活动的这个叫的一些机会吧，无论是体育的、艺术的表演的，很多类型都有。同样的话呢，他们当然就能够支持一些就在这些领域方面已经做得很专业的人，比如说你在体育音乐已经做得非常非常厉害的话，那你已经就可以说马上就是说当然可以参与他们的队伍。 但是学校的话呢，同时也非常的这个重视，就是给学生的一些机会。比如说刚才老师说的一个例子，就是如果有个学生从来没有尝试过做舞台剧他肯定是给你机会去台上面做表演的。或者说你从来没有试过攀岩，学校的话呢，也希望一个有兴趣的学生是有机会去参加。所以学校的话呢，无论是你是有经验的、没经验的，或者说你是当然无论你在学术方面就很超前，或者说需要一点点帮助的话，学校的话呢，都会能提供相对应的这个资源还有支持给到学生。当然呢，学校一个很大的一个特点吧，就是说它的这个地理位置。他刚刚老师说的，从他家的门口到白宫其实就10公里这样所以他就是一个很少数吧，所以可以在一个大城市附近能够找到一个那个技术比例那么高的一个技术学校的所以这样的这个机会的话呢，所有的这样的一个学校的话呢，在美国的话呢，也只有非常少量的这个学校是能做到这个效果的。然后有时候家庭也会问到比如说因为他是主教高中嘛，那是不是要他要信什么样的教才能去呢？那其实并不是的，他们学校是12%是国际生，有20%的话呢是从一些美国可能少数的这个叫的可能背景的或者来的一些家庭。当然呢，他们还有所有的信仰的，包括有信仰没信仰，或者说是天主教的、基督教的，他们都是接受都有的，所以是一个非常我会说接受度很大的这一个学校来的。Okay, thank you, Ben.
That was the hardest slide. That was the most information. They get easier after.
all right, I got it. Thank you. No problem.
We go. And so first, just like to talk very quickly about the academics here at Episcopal High School. So there are a lot of options for students to take. So we have over 140 courses in 8 different departments. We have 75 advanced and honors level courses which go on to take the AP test and do quite well there. There are possibilities for independent study in your junior and senior year here at Episcopal High School. If there is a topic that you are really, really interested in and there's a faculty member that's able to help support and guide you through an independent study of that topic, we're happy to do that. And then also we are a member of the Global Online Academy Network. And so if there are courses or subject areas that you really want to explore that we don't have here, but are offered through the Global Online Academy, you can take some online classes and learn that way, which is one of the reasons why Episcopal was able to pivot so quickly to an online model. So a lot of our teachers had some really good experience teaching that way.
那就是呢，主教高中呢，他们提供就是140个课程，在8个不同的部门。然后呢，他们学校呢是没有提供AP 课程的，但是呢，就是说他们有75个高级跟荣誉课程，而且就读完以后呢，学生也是很多也会去考这个 AP 考试。然后他们还有独立的研究，还有一个叫全球的一个线上的学习。这个是一个就是提供很多线上课程的一个地方。就是所以就是主教高中的老师呢，其实是很适应这个线上学习的，因为就是说很多的学生在这个如果说学校没有提供的一些课程的时候，他们都可以透过这个线上的学习去修读自己有关的就是相关有兴趣的一些课程，所以就是他们有很多元很就是丰富的一些学科可以给学生去选择。
Okay.
Great. Obviously, your teachers are a big part of your academic experience, but faculty members here at Episcopal High School are so much more than just teachers, and you're going to get to know them at a much different level than you are familiar with kind of normal public or day schools. So there's certainly going to be your teachers, and you're going to be sitting in classes and really digging into subjects deeply with your teachers, which is fun. But your teachers will also be advisors and mentors, coaches, dorm parents, there'll be your chauffeurs on the weekends taking you to different events all around Washington D.C. So there's a really fun dynamic and close relationships developed between students and teachers that are amazing. The statistic that's on the screen is actually a little bit low now. So we're up over 90% of our faculty living on campus, which is really wonderful. And over 81% of those faculty members hold some kind of an advanced degree in the subject area that they're teaching.
那很多的就是家庭呢，有时候也会在刚就是过来咨询的时候，也会问我们啊，那究竟为什么要去一个寄宿学校，而不去一个走读学校呢？那刚才就是Ben 老师讲到的一点，其实就很重要，就是说呢，在一个走读学校，就是老师就是老师，那上完课可能大家就回家，然后就没有太多的接触。但是在一个像主教高中这个全寄宿的一个学校里面呢，就是老师也是你的顾问，可能同时也是你的那个体育教练，或者是你的宿舍的那个监护的老师。所以就是说呢，学生跟老师之间的这个接触呢是非常的紧密的，不是单单是在学术的课堂，而且是在课外的活动，体育、美术学习，就是各方面其实都会有很多的一些互动，所以就是老师会很真正的去了解学生。然后呢，就是刚才老师也有讲到，就是90%的那个老师也是住在校园里面，然后所以就是说跟老师之间，就像刚才讲的，在宿舍在不同的地区也会见到，然后有超过80%的老师也是在他自己的一个领域里面有更高级的一个学位。Thank you.
As I mentioned before, being so close to Washington, D.C. is a major feature of Episcopal High School. Of the schools in the U.S. that are 100% boarding, and there are really not that many anymore. Most boarding schools do have some day students that attend. But of the schools that are 100% boarding, Episcopal High School is the only 100% boarding school that is within the major metropolitan area. So there are a lot of schools that are way far out in the countryside, and those schools are wonderful and great, but it's a very different experience than being here at Episcopal and having access to so many different things. So some of the different ways that we use Washington, D.C., the first and most significant way is our Washington program, which basically has helped redesign Episcopal's entire schedule. And so starting this next year, with the way that our schedule has been organized, every single subject that you take will have a 2.5 to 3 hour block of time to travel into Washington, D.C. for some kind of hands-on experience-based learning opportunity. And that will happen or can happen rather for each class once every 2 weeks. And so it may be, a week where 2 or 3 times you're going into Washington, D.C. in a given week to go meet with a subject area expert. For example, I know before we left campus, when our biology class was studying cancer, they went and met with a doctor at the National Institutes of Health that was using gene therapy to fight cancer. So really cool stuff. And you get to have these conversations with people that are actually using the information that you're studying in the classroom, and they're using that information in real life in really interesting ways. All of our seniors, all of our 12th graders for the month of May have what we call our senior externships. And so they basically stop going to classes for the last month of their experience here at Episcopal High School and go out into the real world and, basically have jobs. And it could be anything from, working in and around the political buildings of Washington, D.C. It could be volunteering at a hospital. It could be, working with a law firm. It could be, working at an architectural firm. A lot of it depends on what the student is interested in. You're not just assigned randomly to an externship. It's always in an area that you're really interested in. And then, of course, weekend activities. Our students are constantly going into Washington, D.C. on the weekends just to have fun, to go do things. And we have a really robust slate of activities that students can choose from. Or if they want to, they can just hang out on campus, relax. There's a little shopping center that's not too far away that you can just walk to very easily. And you can go and grab some food, grab some ice cream or some donuts, or a bunch of different restaurants there. You can just go and hang out and relax. Being so close to Washington, D.C., it's so convenient. Our students, it feels like they, completely keep Uber Eats and Grubhub and DoorDash and all of those companies, thriving here in the Washington, D.C. area, because they're always ordering food and getting together to hang out and eat here. So there are a lot of neat opportunities being so close to Washington, D.C.
那就是刚才 Ben 老师呢就讲到，因为学校的这个地理优势呢，就是只有10分钟的车程，就是10公里这样，所以就是说呢，学校是无论是在这个课程的设计跟周末的活动也很善用这个在DC 附近的这个优势。例如说，他们比较就是出色的一个项目，比较有特色的项目就是这个华盛顿项目。这个华盛顿项目呢，他们就是会很注重这个就是说实地的这个学习。然后他们呢，就是每一个学科都会，就是说有一些就是说一周，比如说1-2次、2-3次的这个机会去实地的去学习，去一些不同的机构，就按照不同的一些学科会有这样就是实践的机会，而不是说单单是在课本或是在教室里面去学习。然后呢，就是刚才也举了一个例子，就是老师说就是例如说生物方面的一个学习，就是他们有学到癌症的这个研究，他们去了一个就是机构去跟他们讨论，就是怎么用这个基因做这个就是疗程这方面，所以就是会有很多很多的这一些机会，是因为接近这个 DC 的这个中心呢，就是这个优势是非常大的。然后呢，就是这个华盛顿项目比较就是更有特色的一点呢，就是他们12年级就是最后1年的这个学生呢，就是整个5月份呢，他们就不会去上课了，他们就有1个月的这个实习。那至于是在哪一个机构学习呢，其实是很视乎就是孩子的这个兴趣的，不是有一个特定的限制。例如说，有一些孩子可能去一个律师行，去一个做建筑，或者是就是对政治有兴趣的，可能去议会、国会这一些，甚至是一些就是说义工的机构啊，就是说就是去照顾一些动物啊等等这一些，都是一些可行的一些事情。然后周末的时候呢，就是学生也是可以就是说去附近的这个购物的广场去吃东西啊，或者是去 DC 啊，或者是就是轻松一下。所以就是学校在这个比较距离 DC 近的一个优势里面，他们是非常好的去应用了在各方面。
Another massive part of your Episcopal high school experience will be the time that you spend with your friends. They are around you way more than the teachers are, obviously. And so by having great friends from all over the world, it's going to make your Episcopal high school experience that much more rich. For our 9th graders, we really try to connect those students very quickly to one another. There is a guided outdoor adventure for 2 to 3 days where you're camping outside and getting to do things with your friends in small groups. And so this is a picture actually of one of the groups from 2 years ago, it looks like, that are out and enjoying the wilderness and doing fun things. It's really nice to be a part of a 100% boarding environment. Your friends are always around you. You don't have friends that are going home at night to live with their parents. They're here in the dorms, and they're in the library and in the student center hanging out, and in the athletic facilities working out, or in the arts facilities practicing with you. So it's really nice to have everyone there. And if you have a group project, you can get together with your friends because you're all living at the same place.
那另外一方面，全寄宿的这个优势呢，就是除了跟老师的这个关系比较紧密以外呢，跟同学、跟朋友的这个关系呢，就更加的密切了。因为大家就是吃啊、住啊都是在一起。然后呢，刚才显示的一个照片呢，就是也是有一个就是户外的一个探险项目，就是一个2天到3天的这个项目，然后学生会分成一些小组，然后去做这个探险，所以大家又在这个活动里面又更加的密切，然后大家像图片里面的一起吃饭，每天一起相处，所以就是这个友情呢是非常的可贵的。
So there are tons of activities and fun things to do. One of the main times when you're outside of the classroom, but still really engaged, are in the afternoons and evenings. And you would have to do something. And so there's you have athletics that you can do, and then also fine arts. With athletics, students have tons of different things that they can choose from. And for really all of these options, there are multiple levels. And so, for example, if you have been playing basketball for years and years and years and years, and you're really good at basketball, there's a team for you, and you can jump on one of those teams and play. But if you are maybe, you've never played squash before, you've never tried competitive swimming or anything like that, you can also start at the junior varsity level, at a lower level. That's more about developing skills and having that good experience. So our athletics are competitive, but they're also very open to everybody and very positive and welcoming too.
EHS 呢也提供很多的运动项目，他们一共提供18种的运动，然后有49个不同的一些team 这样子，然后大家可能在刚才看到有一些篮球啊，有一些越野跑啊，就游泳啊，各方面其实都有。然后呢，也不是说一定要在某一个运动做得很出色才可以参加的，因为就是每一个运动的团队他们会有不同的一个能力，就是说如果是相对之前没有接触过活动或者是比较新接触的话，他可以是参加这个 Junior Varsity， 然后就慢慢的上去。所以就是说不同运动能力的学生都可以找到他们喜欢的运动，或者是尝试他们没试过的。刚才看到有这个攀岩，然后有这个蛙船，这些都是学校有提供的。
And the students love to come out and support each other too, which is really fun. And so if you're competing or in the fine arts, if you're performing or showcasing your skills, however you're doing that, your friends and classmates, everybody and faculty members will come out and support you. So they're great crowds. Certainly at our football games, which are really popular. But the winter musical and the art shows and the recitals are also really, really well attended as well.
那就是说学生在就是参与活动的同时呢，也会有一些其他的朋友在这边去支持啊，这样子，然后他们也有就是这个美式的这个橄榄球这方面的一些比赛等等，都是很受就是学生去欢迎的。
And so the fine arts are just as important here at Episcopal High School as our athletics. We're very well known for being good at both and having a very balanced program. We have a really, really beautiful fine arts center that has so much space and so many different nooks and crannies for students to go be creative in, that it's really amazing. For our instrument instruction, all of the instructors are coming from the local area and are professional musicians themselves. But you don't have to be, at a high level in violin if you want to take violin lessons. If it's something that you've always wanted to do and haven't had the opportunity, you can certainly start here at Episcopal.
那除了运动以外，就是主教高中的这个艺术方面也是非常的强的，就是包括在音乐跟这个视觉艺术啊、表演艺术这方面都是有很强的一个优势。我还记得就是之前我去访校，一个最大的感觉就是说，进到那个艺术中心里面，所有都是学生的一些画画，然后他们的一些雕塑，不同的一些作品，所以这些他们同样除了运动以外，他们的艺术也是非常的出色的。
And I'm going to flip through some of the pictures, and they're kind of each of the different facets of fine arts. And so, we have 3 or 4 drama productions every single year. We have a full auditorium style theater on campus, but we also have a smaller, more intimate black box theater as well.
那就是这些是一些表演艺术，就戏剧方面每年就是学校有3到4个大型的一个话剧戏剧的一些表演，然后他们也会有不同的一些就是剧场。
Our studio art program is amazing. Studio art for a lot of our students here at Episcopal, that this will be one of their first introductions into the fine arts by taking one of our studio art electives during their academic day freshman year. Although if you're taking music lessons, or if you are know you're going to be in one of the drama productions or something like that, or if maybe your art is photography or ceramics or a different area, you can certainly take those other subjects instead of the fine art.
那就是说这个也是可以选择的，在艺术方面，就是说除了这个就是艺术，那如果你已经很清楚的知道，就是说摄影啊，或者是一些戏剧啊等等，就是你可以去参加不同的一些艺术。
We have dance here at Episcopal High School, and it's really, really interesting. The dance class goes through all of the different disciplines within the world of dance, and it's offered as a class, but then it's also offered as an afternoon option as well. There was a new addition to the dance program this year, and it was a class. And it was, I forget exactly what it was called, but it was basically dance for athletes. And so it was, helping athletes, learn how to move differently and kind of, gain a different level of coordination. And it was really, really neat to see, basketball players and football players and soccer players, being challenged in very different ways that they weren't used to.
那学校呢也有提供不同的一些舞蹈。那比较特别的是，就是他们的舞蹈呢，除了是作为一个学科来可以选修的课以外呢，他们也是可以作为一个下午的一个活动的，下午的一个其中的一个活动。然后比较特别的，他们有一个就是给运动员的这个舞蹈，然后所以就是说可能会教一些，例如说足球运动员、篮球运动员不同的运动员去怎么去做一些不同的动作啊，然后就是怎么去协调啊这方面，所以就是这一些都是可以结合的，就是他们也是有结合了这个运动啊、舞蹈啊各方面。
And then the school spirit here at Episcopal High School is amazing. The kids enjoy each other so much, and they just love being together. They love Episcopal, and they love the experience that they have here. And they really, like to have fun together. And so, this is an example of a crowd at a football game, but students are always doing things together on the weekends, and there's some things that are organized and kind of developed by the school, but then there's some things where the students are just getting together on their own to have fun and to kind of create memories.
那学校的这个氛围跟这个学校的精神还是很浓厚的，就是说学生会很愿意去一起参加一些团体的活动，然后当然就是也可以有一些个人的时间，但是就是说他们觉得就一起玩不同的运动这一些他们都是非常的享受。
So I was just thinking that this picture might need a little bit of an explanation. It's an unusual one. So at the beginning of the year, every year we have dorm games, and where a boys' dorm and a girls' dorm are paired together as a team, and then they compete against the other dorms, or dorm pairs rather, in all kinds of different events. And some events are a little bit more traditional, or it might be some kind of a running relay race, or you'll see in the next slide, there was actually like some swimming this year as a component, which was fun. But this picture is a pie eating contest. And in the pie eating contests, the students are not allowed to use their hands. And so they're just pushing their face into the pie and eating it as fast as they can. And so it looks a little funny and a little weird, but you can see kind of in the background, all the students, or a lot of the students, have their dorm shirts on, and so they're supporting their team. The people that you see kind of dressed in ties there are our cheerleaders. And a cheerleader at Episcopal High School is not a cheerleader with pom-poms at football games, but the cheerleaders are primarily responsible for helping to foster good, positive, fun school spirit at Episcopal. And so sometimes that does revolve around football games and sporting events, but a lot of it revolves around doing fun things on the weekends with the rest of the student body.
那这个是一个很好玩的一个图片，就是说呢，这个是什么呢？就是他们每年的学年开始呢，他们会有一个比赛，然后男生跟女生呢就会组成一队，大家自己同宿舍的组成一队，然后就跟其他宿舍去做一些比赛。当然会有一些比较传统的一些比赛，像就是跑步啊、游泳啊这一些。然后这个呢就是一个吃那个派的一个比赛，然后他们是不能用手，所以就是大家都是把脸就是放进去那个吃的那个盘子，然后后面带着领带的那些就是他们的那个叫啦啦队吧，然后他们就是会打气，然后同时呢他们的作用呢跟责任呢也是说去保持一个好的一个氛围，就是加强大家同学跟同学之间的这个联系，有一个很好的气氛去在课堂或者是在游戏活动里面都会有一个很好玩的一个氛围吧。
So this is the swimming portion of the competition. You can see some of the students get dressed up in crazy costumes and all kinds of stuff. It's a lot of fun.
这个就是游泳部分的比赛，然后大家会有不同的戏服啊，穿着不同的衣着啊，然后也是很好玩的活动啊。
And we do have school dances and things like that, and DJs and all kinds of stuff that comes to campus. And so there's a lot of fun things that happen on the weekends.
这个是一个跳舞的活动。
And then we also, like I said at the very, very beginning, we do focus on you as a person and as a student. And so we really focus on your values. We are a religious school in the sense that the school was founded by the Episcopal Church, and that's kind of the foundations of the school. But we do have students of all different faiths and backgrounds here at Episcopal High School, including not having any kind of religious experience at all as well. And so everybody comes together. We do have 2 or 3 required chapel services a week, but each one's short, just 15 or 20 minutes, and they're very, very inclusive. Most of the time it has very little to do with a specific type of religion, but it's a lot more to do with exploring who you are as a person and what you believe as a member of our community. We do have service at the school, and so we want students that are very generous with their time and their talents and helping the surrounding areas improve. Every single weekend there are service opportunities for all of our students. We do have an honor code, so all of our students at the beginning of the year will go through and sign the honor code stating that they will not lie, cheat, or steal, and that they will report anyone that they see doing those things. And so it's a real it's the bedrock that the school was founded on. Students know that they can trust each other, and it's such an important part of what we do. I would have zero questions or worries about leaving a brand new, computer in the student center, or, my bike, leaving it outside. I know that students, wouldn't steal it or take it or anything like that. So we have a really nice honor code. And then two, the school really is focusing on developing leaders. And so we have a portion of our program every 2 weeks or so that is focused on leadership and ethics training. And so we're putting students through different scenarios and having them learn about what it means to be a leader and how to develop some of those leadership skills while you're still, in a very safe place like Episcopal.
那学校呢也是很注重学生的一些发展跟他们的一些价值观的一些培养的。然后呢，学校是由这个主教的教会然后去建立，但是呢，他们学校会有不同的学生来自不同的信仰，也有一些是没有信仰、没有宗教信仰的学生。那每周呢，就是学校会有2到3次的这一些就是说去教堂的一些机会，但是每一次都比较短。就是大概是15到20分钟，而且就是也不是说是就是单纯是讲某一个宗教或者是什么信仰的，而是更多的是去帮助学生去探索他们自己这个价值啊，自己的一些成长这方面。然后呢，学校呢也会很重视这个服务，就是为他人服务，所以每周末也会有一些义工公益的服务，去附近的地方做一些帮助的一些服务呢。然后学校也会有这个叫 honor code， 就是说这个诚信的信则，就是说在每个学期就是开学的时候呢，学生是需要去宣誓，就是说我不会说谎，我不会就是作弊，我不会偷任何的东西。如果有任何的一些学生这样做的话，我也会就是做出这个报告。所以呢，就是老师刚才也讲到，他们是很放心，就是把自己的一些贵重物品，例如说单车，就是电脑这一些就放在那边，因为他们相信，就是学生都是很就是经守这个诚实这个信念的，所以这个也是他们比较就是重视的一个地方。另外一方面就是领导力的培养了，就是学校会提供很多这些领导力的一些机会，教导学生在不同的领域怎么做一个很好的领导。
And then at the end of your Episcopal high school experience, you will have been going through amazing classes with wonderful faculty members and friends that are helping you learn and helping you see things with a new perspective. You've done lots of fun things in the afternoons, from sports to fine arts to leadership opportunities and service opportunities. And the end result is that you are a really, really interesting young man or young woman that when you're applying to college, the colleges get really, really excited about having you as a part of their community at the university level. We do have 3 full-time college counselors that help our seniors with the college process. That process really starts in earnest in the 11th grade with the college counselors, but advisors and teachers do a lot of counseling with our younger students about college before that. And so students are starting to think about what they're looking for in college, and maybe in 10th grade, then they're starting to visit some colleges during breaks and things like that. And then 11th grade, they've narrowed down their list and they're maybe going for their more formal school visits during 11th grade. And then of course, in 12th grade, you're applying and taking the SAT, the ACT, and all that good stuff. And so the college counselors help you with all of those things. The end result is that students go to some really, really wonderful schools all across the nation and also the world. We have students that go to Canadian universities and universities that are based in the UK, and sometimes in Japan as well. So some really interesting possibilities that are out there.
那这部分呢，就是关于学校对于就是大学升学的这个支持了。那学校呢里面有3个全职的这个大学升学顾问，然后呢学生会从11年级开始跟就是大学的这个升学顾问去合作，去讨论这个大学的申请。但是呢，就是低年级的学生，像9年级跟10年级的学生呢，他们的顾问老师也会跟他们去讨论这个不同的一些大学。你希望就在大学里面就是做什么的专业啊，这一些就是顾问老师都会很好的去跟孩子去讨论，就去做一个引导。可能10年级的时候就会就是参观一些大学的校园，然后11年级呢就是更清晰一些大学的名单，然后就把这个范围就是收窄一些，然后去再看一些集中就是想报的一些学校。12年级当然就是说文书啊、标化啊等等的这个部分。然后所以就是说学校对于大学的这个升学支持还是蛮多的。大家看到的这个是2016到2019的一个大学的趋向，然后就是有很多很好的美国的一些顶尖的大学，同时其实也会有去其他不同的国家，像加拿大、英国甚至是日本都会有。
Great. And the application process for Episcopal High School is pretty typical and pretty standard for all other boarding schools that you'll be applying to. We don't have any real unusual steps in our process. Having great counselors from Foundation Global, will kind of help walk you through all of these steps. But just to go through them very quickly, Episcopal High School does require a varicant interview so that we can kind of get to know you before you potentially visit campus and start the process. We do accept common applications, and so there is not a specific Episcopal High School application that you have to fill out. Using one of the common applications, maybe from the SSAT company, their product's called the Standard Application Online. We also accept the Gateway application. So there are lots of different applications that we accept, and there isn't anything that's just for us. We do ask that you get 3 recommendations from current teachers. So a principal or counselor, some kind of administrator will need to write a recommendation for you, and then your math teacher and your English teacher. We want to see 2 years worth of grades, and so that would be your final grades from this year. If you're applying for the fall of 2021, you would use your final grades from this academic year, and then a progress report from this upcoming academic year. So sometime in maybe December or January, you would send that midterm report that you would get back. We do require both TOEFL and SSAT scores, and then some kind of an interview, whether that interview is on campus while you're here visiting and touring the school, or through some kind of video conferencing, whether it's Zoom or Skype or one of the many other options that are out there. We're happy to do any of those. It doesn't matter how you interview. There isn't any kind of additional value that we place on an in-person interview versus a video conferencing interview. You don't move higher on the list if you are able to make it to campus. Like Mr. Conklin said at the very, very beginning, if all of these things are unavailable, if you can't sit to take the TOEFL or the SSAT, or you can't make it to campus for a visit, those are absolutely things that we will work with. The good news is that you will not be the only person in that situation. certainly if they're not giving the SSAT, there are going to be thousands and thousands of other students from China, from the US, from all around the world that are in that same predicament. So don't worry about that. The important date, so January 15th is our application deadline. Please be pretty mindful with that and get all of your stuff in. If something is being delayed, maybe your transcript hasn't come out quite yet, and it doesn't come out maybe until the beginning of February or something like that, that's totally fine, no problem. Just go ahead and send your admissions officer an email. Let us know, communicate with us, and we'll be able to handle that, no problem. That's not a big deal. We then take the rest of January and all of February to read all of the applications and make really, really hard decisions. And then on March 10th, we send out our notification to families. There is an email, but we also have an admissions portal that families can kind of jump on and check and receive their decision. And then once you've received your decision on March 10th, your family will have a full month until April 10th to weigh all of your different options if you've been accepted into multiple schools. During that time, again, hopefully, you would be able to revisit the school either in person or virtually, maybe meet and talk with a couple students, a couple teachers, things like that, get a better feel for the school so that by April 10th, you can make a good decision.
那这个是关于这个申请的过程的。那就是呢，首先就是在国内的学生呢，就是主教高中是需要一个微力课的面试的。微力课面试是一个第三方的一个机构提供的一个就是面试，然后学校会先看了这部分，然后如果通过了以后，才可以就是继续做面试跟其他申请的部分。然后当然就是说我们就是顾问。我们顾问团队也会就是在整个申请的过程里面会就协助大家做每一步。学校用的是一个通用申请，就是说不是说用这个独立申请这样子。然后在这个申请那个推荐信里面呢，就需要有一份就是校长或是顾问，还有就是英语跟数学老师的一个推荐信，然后要有2年的成绩单，加上就是如果是申请2021年的，就是说今年下半年的这个最新的这个就是中期的那个学期单，就是成绩单的话呢，也是需要提交的，所以就是大概是2年半。然后就是还有就托福跟 SSAT 的这个标化。然后当然一开始的时候 Scott 老师也讲到，就是说托福跟 SSAT 呢这一些今年有很多的不确定性，大家不用担心。如果就是你们考不到的话，那可能就是其他不同地域、不同地区国家的一些学生也会受到同样的影响。学校呢会就是努力的去支持各位，就不会说因为没有了这个分数就不能去申请，所以大家可以不用太担心。然后面试的话呢，就是会有就是视频或者是校园的。那当然就是今年会看这个情况再做一个安排了。然后这个日期方面呢，大家可能也知道，比较重要的是1月15号，就是申请的这个截止日期。有部分的一些申请材料呢，可能1月15号是还没有就是出来的，例如就是说刚才讲的中期的成绩单，那这个部分呢是可以在就是出来以后，可能说1月底2月份，很多就是比如说国内的一些公立学校，他们一般会在1月2月份，就是春节前后，他们才会出这个成绩单，所以这个不用担心，到时候其他的材料在15号之前，1月15号之前提交完成，然后剩下的这一些学校也会理解的，可以之后去提交。那1月15号到3月10号之间呢，就是学校是一个他们的闭关，那他们就2个月会有很大量的一个就是委员会开会，他们就从早到晚就是会去看所有学生的这一些申请也会有很多的这一些讨论，就是每一个申请呢，他们也会有就是2到3个这样的面试官去做这个审阅去看，然后他们在一起讨论。然后3月10号是那个就是高中就放榜的一个时间，然后从3月10号到4月10号之间，大家有1个月的时间去看学校， 或者是去做一个决定，去跟不同的一些学生啊、家庭啊去做一个沟通，然后去选择适合自己的学校所以就一般中间呢会有一些就是可以重新参观学校的一个机会。
Great. And then just some quick application statistics. And so in this last cycle, we received over 185 applications from mainland China. And from those applications, we accepted 7 students. And then of those 7 students that we accepted, 5 accepted our offer, 4 9th graders and 1 10th grader. And then for our next cycle for this upcoming year, we are again looking for between 4 and 6 students. Most of those will want to enroll into our 9th grade, but we are looking for the very best candidates. And so if there's a very, very strong candidate that's a good fit for Episcopal, that would be a rising 10th grader or a rising 11th grader, we certainly have the flexibility to accept those students. We do not have any minimum test scores that we require students to reach. And so there's no minimum for the SSAT or the TOEFL. If you look back over the last 4 years of the students from mainland China that have been accepted to Episcopal High School, their average SSAT score was right around 2,200, and the average TOEFL was a 105. But if you fall a little bit below that, that doesn't mean that you have 0 chance. And if you are a little bit higher than that, that doesn't mean that you're going to be guaranteed acceptance. We look at a lot of different factors.
那这部分是一些申请的数据，在2019到2020的这个申请季呢，就是学校收到185份从国内的一些申请者，然后他们呢就是发了7个录取。然后有5个就是中国学生就是选择了入读，那当中也包括我们Foundation 的1位学生啦。那就是当中有4个是9年级的，然后1个是10年级的。然后呢，就是在2021年的这个秋季的这个就是录取的话呢，学校也是计划录取4到6个就是中国的学生，然后主要来说是9年级，但是10年级还是会有机会的。学校希望找到就是最适合的学生，然后学校没有在这个标化分数方面设一个最低的这个申请的这个要求，但是呢，就是过往的这个平均的录取呢，就是分数来说是2200 SSAT 跟这个105的这个托福。但是呢，大家就是也不用太担心，这个是一个参考，就是说比这个分数要低或是要高的都有可能去录取，因为学校看的不但是这个标化分数，还有就是学生的整体的一些履历啊，还有他能够为学校贡献的才能，这一些都是非常重要的。
Great. And that is everything. Thank you so much for your time and for sticking with me. I know it's starting to get a little bit late, but if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Okay, thank you very much, Ben. And so I guess we'll open the floor for Q&A and we'll see what questions come in.
Yeah, great.
OK， 行，好的，那现在就非常感谢 Ben 老师刚刚的一个分享，还有现在的话是有大概10到15分钟的时间吧，让大家去问一些的问题吧，所以大家可以在这个叫Zoom 里面的群里面也好或者是微信群里面的话，也可以问一些问题，然后我们就会让 Ben 来为我们去解答这些问题吧。
大家有问题吗？就是关于可能主教高中或者是申请，或者是一些其他的问题都可以的。
Okay, Earl will give it a minute and see how it goes.
Yeah, no problem, no problem.
The first question is asking about the girls' golf team at Episcopal High. So it's just saying that is there a team, but I guess you can explain a little bit more about like the athletic program or the girls' golf program a little bit. Like how competitive it is, what school you compete with. I guess that would be good.
Sure. So actually this past spring was going to be our first year having a separate girls golf program. And so traditionally at Episcopal, if there has been a girl that has wanted to play golf and is good enough, they would play on the boys team and kind of compete in those areas. And so now that, unfortunately, we didn't get to actually start that, this past spring, because after spring break, we didn't come back to campus. But that it is something that is continued to be planned for next year. I don't know exactly how the competitions would be handled. Most of our competitors are local schools, and so they come from the Washington, D.C. area. There are, the probably majority are day schools, but there are a couple of boarding schools that are in the area that we will compete against. And so certainly if there are girls that want to play golf, they absolutely can here. In the fall on weekends, that could be something that you sign off on to go off campus and go to a golf course and have a practice round, or go to a driving range and practice there. So there's certainly things that are available to students that are interested in golf.
那 EHS 呢，今年本身的这个春季呢，过去的这个春季是有一个就是高尔夫的这个项目跟比赛的，但是就是因为大家知道，因为疫情关系呢，今年是没法开始，但是学校还是有计划，就是说明年继续做这个高尔夫的这个项目。然后呢，这些比赛呢，通常会是跟就是本地，就是 DC 的一些本地的走读学校一起去做。然后呢，如果是这个秋季的话呢，一般也是可以，就是周末的时候，学生是可以选择去学校外面去做这一些的训练。所以如果有学生是希望参与这个高尔夫的话呢，就是所以是绝对有很多的机会的，在主教高中里面。
Thank you. So the next question is a little bit about the community of EHS, because you're close to Washington D.C. So the question is really asking, would like the majority of the student body are from, let's say, I guess strong political backgrounds, or like at least political families, so let's say an international student, who come from, let's say, China, who I won't say, like, let's say middle class would feel a little bit uneasy because they're from a very different background. So I guess, how would you address that?
So Episcopal really values diversity, kind of in all of the different types of diversity, and certainly kind of where students are from is a part of that diversity. And so that's certainly something that we celebrate and appreciate. It could be cultural diversity, it could be and will be diversity of opinions and viewpoints and things like that. And all of that is a part of what makes living and studying and playing and working together so valuable at a boarding school. One of the things that we do value is socioeconomic diversity. And so we have students on our campus of all different backgrounds. Some come from very wealthy families. Some come from families in very different financial situations that are receiving significant need-based financial aid. And so all of that goes into creating a rich fabric of community and just thoughts and opinions and that kind of diversity here at Episcopal, and we certainly value that. I think at the beginning of the year, there's always a little bit of adjustment for anybody coming to a boarding school for the first time, certainly coming from China and from a very different culture and into the U.S. There will be some transitions. But everybody has friends here. There's not a single student that hasn't found people that they connect well with.
Okay, thank you.
那学校就讲到呢，就是学校还是很有多元性的，就是这个多元呢，不单是文化的这个多元，就是在家庭的背景，在学生的这个不同的背景也会很多元，所以就是说学校里面不只是只有一个阶层或者是一个就是一个阶级的一个学生吧，所以就是在不同的一些财政状况、不同家庭的这个氛围都会有，所以呢，就是当然就是无论是在来自哪里的学生，一开始的时候一定会有个适应的过程嘛，毕竟是一个就是全寄宿的学校，但是呢学生 在老师的这个支持之下呢，适应都会很好。所以就是经过一段时间的这个适应以后，就是学生都能够很好的融入这个大家庭。
Okay. All right. So the next question is about, I guess, the balance of the extracurriculars. So let's say a student want to be in a band, and then you want to do sports. Let's say you want to do, I guess, individual like instruments. How does the whole schedule come together?
Yeah. Well, and students can absolutely do multiple things. You don't have to kind of pigeonhole yourself as, I'm a debate person, or I'm a soccer person, or I'm a drama person. It's certainly an environment where you can do all of those things. It's nice because there are times and places where each of those activities are offered, and and students will do those things. And so, every now and again, there might be some difficult decisions to make. For example, like the winter musical, is an afternoon option. And, if you really want to be in the winter musical, but you also, want to be on the swim team, you can't be on both at the same time. You do have to make a decision there. But if you are, playing the piano and you want to do a couple of sports, and you want to, do one of the drama productions, like you can definitely kind of create your overall yearly schedule in such a way that it all fits. So in the wintertime, you may have to make that tough decision between swimming and drama. But if you choose, say, swimming, then in the springtime, you could choose drama instead of tennis or crew or something like that.
那就是这个分配时间的问题呢，其实就是说每个学生都是会做很多不同的一些活动的，所以就不是说那么单向的啊，我只做就是戏剧，我只做这个辩论，我只做一个东西。当然在有的时候呢，就是有一些时间表会有一些冲突，例如说可能是这个冬季的这个音乐剧，跟游泳我都想同时参加，那有时候在这个课表上面的冲撞可能会有的，那在这个时候呢，就要学会取舍了。但是就是说，如果能够好好的去分配，能够好好的去计划自己的时间表，就是在哪一个时间希望参加哪一个运动，在哪一个时间希望参加一些课外的一些戏剧其他的一些活动的话，其实是可以做得到的。
Okay. And just to add on to the music lessons, and so whether it's instrument or voice or whatever, those do happen during the day. And so it's much easier to fit those in and still have time for afternoon activities.
Okay. Got it. I guess before I will just follow up a little bit on this, because there was a question about like what instruments were covered by those instrument lessons.
Oh, it can almost be any instrument that you can think of. The only ones, and I wouldn't even say that it would be impossible, because Washington D.C. is such an artistic town, and there's so much here. But like the trickier instruments would be like maybe the Chinese traditional instruments and things like that would be harder for us to find an expert instructor here for. But everything from the piccolo to the bassoon, and everything in between, we have students taking, and we can provide support in those because there are so many bands. The Marine Corps Marching Band is one of the best bands in the entire world, and a lot of actually their members are our instructors.
Thank you.
那因为就是也是 DC 的这个地理优势吧，就是说其实没有太多的一些乐器是学校不能够找到就是适合的老师的，因为就是DC 是一个非常有艺术的一个城市，除了说中国传统的这些乐器可能比较难找以外，其他其实都是没有问题的。
Okay. And then the next few questions were about like the AP courses. So because EHS does not have official AP, so I guess I can just kind of combine a couple of questions. So one, do students still take, let's say, AP exams? And two, like the advanced or honors classes, how are they being viewed by colleges in the US?
Yeah, great question. And so, yes, students are still taking AP tests. Our advanced level classes are equivalent to AP level courses at other schools and other curriculums. And so any student, if you're taking advanced calculus, so you can then go in and take the AP calculus test, whether it's A, B, or B, C. Advanced chemistry students will almost always go on to take the chemistry AP test. And our students do really, really well. The nice thing is, like with our curriculum, is that we're not tied to the very, very strict AP curriculum. And if the teacher needs to spend a little bit more time on one subject than another, they have the freedom to be able to do that. So it's quite nice. And then colleges, when colleges are looking at a high school student's transcript, they want to see that that student has challenged themselves appropriately. And they take into account what's offered at the school. And so if you're taking the highest level classes at Episcopal, then the colleges will look at that just as if you were taking the highest AP level classes at a different school. There are schools that don't have any kind of AP designation or anything like that, and those students are accepted at very similar rates as students from Episcopal or from a more traditional AP curriculum.
那刚才一开始我们也提过，就是学校呢其实是不提供 AP 课程的，但是呢就是他们会有这个叫 Advanced， 就是高级的课程。大家可能不是太了解的是，就是说不是一定要读 AP 课才能去考 AP 的考试。他们的这个高级课程其实教的内容呢比较有弹性，因为就是说如果要教 AP 课程的话，老师一定要按照一个特定的一个范围，所以就是他们是不叫 AP， 但是教的内容是足以能够让孩子去应付这个AP 的考试，所以就是读完这个高级的这个微积分就可以去考这个 AP 的微积分，就是高级的化学可以去考 AP 的化学，所以就是这个大家是不用担心的。大学去看的时候呢，也不是说你读了就是多少个 AP 课程，然后就是他们会看如果你在主教高中你甚至读到他们最高级的课程，那也是能够证明就是学生是有挑战自己在学术方面追求更高的一个努力吧。
Thank you. All right. So the next question is, will you be able to speak a little bit about like the Episcopal faith, and how it has been influencing the schools or at least the daily life of students?
Yeah, sure. So the Episcopal faith, it's a Christian religion, and so it's one of the denominations of Christianity. It is a wonderfully open and diverse denomination of Christianity. It is a very intellectual denomination of Christianity. I know maybe stereotypically it can be seen like where religion and science maybe are never, or they're kind of at odds with each other, and not within the Episcopalian faith. It's a very intellectual and open religion, which is nice. Now here at Episcopal High School, the religion's important in the sense that our 2 to 3 chapel services a week that are mandatory are some of those community moments where all of our students come together to, hear a senior give one of their talks, to listen to a musician, perform for the school, to hear an amazing story from an outside speaker, and all of these things. We're never trying to change anybody's mind at Episcopal High School, and we want students to believe what they believe and how they've been raised to believe things. But we want them to experience the Episcopal community through the lens of their belief systems. And we think it's really important that everybody comes together. And so, chapel services are important, not necessarily because of any kind of a religious message, if there even is one, but more because everyone's together. And we have our family style meals because we think it's important for everybody to get together and to, have a good meal together and have some good conversation and to learn from each other in a more informal setting. And so I think, for a Chinese student who maybe doesn't have a wide background with, Christianity or, the Episcopalian faith or anything like that, they will not feel in any way, shape, or form like they don't belong here or they don't fit in. They'll feel very, very comfortable. And, it's such a warm and welcoming place that it's, everybody will feel welcome here. It doesn't matter what you believe in.
那学校就是Ben 老师都讲了，这个主教其实是基督教的一个分支。然后呢，就是说在宗教在学校里面是重要，但是它重要的那个原因不是说是要就是说要有一个信仰这样子，更多的是大家聚在一起。像刚才讲的，就是说他们每周会有2到3次在教会的，就是教堂的这个聚会，然后这个聚会呢，不一定是讲一些宗教的一些东西，更多的是一些，例如说会邀请一些嘉宾去讲一些不同的课题，可能会有一个音乐会，等等。所以大家呢，就是在这个主教其实是一个比较就是友好、比较好的一个比较相容，就是没有说在宗教或者是科学之间有一些不相符的一个这样的信仰吧。所以大家就是无论是不同的宗教信仰，其实去到学校里面都有一个很就是舒服、很自在的一个感觉，不会说有任何的一些不适应或者是不合适，因为最重要的是他们大家在一起，而不是说要做一个任何的信仰嘛。
Okay, thank you. So just want to learn a little bit more about like the short breaks. What are the breaks that students must leave campus, and like how do the school like, and also there are like some of the long weekends that they don't have to. So will you be able to talk a little bit about the breaks?
Yeah, sure. So we have, I guess, 6 breaks throughout, or 7 if you include summertime, but 6 breaks during the school year. There's a long weekend in the fall, the winter, and the spring. But those long weekends, the campus stays open. Students do not have to leave, and a lot of students do. It's definitely, campus is not quite as full then. But if a student doesn't or can't go home or doesn't go home with a friend in the local area or something like that, they're more than welcome to stay on campus. There still activities that are planned, and we're still going to the movies, and we're still taking students into the theater to go watch production or something like that. And so there's still lots of things to do. In my experience, teenagers typically just kind of stay on campus and sleep a lot, but that's what they'd be doing at home anyway. So they can certainly do that here. Our longer breaks would be, we have about a week, maybe a little bit more for Thanksgiving and the end of November. We have about 2 to 2.5 weeks for a Christmas break, the end of December, beginning of January. And then we have a 2-week-long spring break, which typically falls right around those first 2 weeks of March. For those breaks, campus does close, and students do have to leave and find some kind of alternate place to be. They don't necessarily have to go all the way home, but certainly campus isn't open. What I've seen a lot of Chinese families do, or actually I shouldn't say that, a lot of international families do, is for the shorter Thanksgiving break, families will tend to travel here to visit with their students, and then maybe do a little bit of tourism here in the U.S. and go and see Washington D.C. and New York, or maybe go to Florida and have some nice weather, things like that. And then for the longer breaks, for Christmas and for spring break, it makes a little bit more sense to make the long trip home and to deal with jet lag.
那就是学校里面有6个6个假期，然后如果计上这个暑假的话，就有7个。然后就是说，一些短假期，就是他们会在学期的里面有一些叫周末。那长周末呢，学校是开放的，所以就是学生是可以留在校园，或者是去其他地方玩，或者是有一些住在附近的学生可以回家，然后比较长的假期就是感恩节1周多，然后就是有2到2个半周的这个圣诞节那一般情况下呢，很多国际生在感恩节，因为大概10天的话呢，有一些家长啊父母啊就会去到美国陪孩子去到处玩，去旅游一下，就是去 DC 也好，去纽约，或者是甚至去佛罗里达州去享受一下阳光也会有的。然后就是其他的长假期，就是圣诞节跟春假一般就会回家了，就是时间去就是解决这个就是时差的问题啦。
So how would you interview? Would you think would that affect how it followed?
No, not at all. We do lots and lots of online interviews, and that doesn't have any kind of an impact. So there's not an admissions impact, I'll say. I do feel like students get a better sense of a school when they're actually there and visiting in person. And I think, again, it doesn't factor into the admissions decision, but I think it can be easier to have a conversation with someone when you're face to face rather than just video conferencing. But it's not required. You know, some of my most favorite interviews and favorite students that we've accepted and that are coming to Episcopal have been Skype or online interviews.
那就是关于这个视频面试会不会影响这个入学啊、招生这个申请啊，就不会的。就是说学校其实也很有经验做不同的一些视频的面试，当然可能就是对申请没有影响，但是就是说对于家庭的这个观感，可能就当然是如果有一个面对面能够参观校园的这个机会更好一些。但是就过往也有很多就是被录取的学生，他们是经过这个视频去做的，所以这个大家不用担心。
Okay. Well, Ben, so I think I have 1 or 2 more questions here. Is time okay on your side?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay, good. All right. So, well, then next one, I'll ask the first one first. So just on top of your head, do you remember any what are the college destinations of the Chinese graduates this year from VHS?
You know what, we off the top, I'm blanking on where they're going, and part of that reason is it's in the program for graduation, which isn't until this upcoming weekend, so I haven't had time to sit and study and know where everyone's going. So it's interesting because I did ask our college counselor in preparation for the presentation, just like where our Chinese students have been accepted, and that's something that Episcopal doesn't do. So we don't kind of once a student's here, they're an Episcopal student, and we don't really break it out and say, where do our African American students go, and where do our Chinese students go, and where do our, I don't know, our wealthier families go versus our less wealthy families or anything like that. It kind of getting into some of those demographics can be a little bit tricky. I do know that they're going to really, really good schools. It's the list that I had up earlier isn't just where our American athletes are going. We have, in fact, I do know 3 years ago there were 2 or 3 Chinese kids that were that got into Ivy League schools. So it's certainly possible. Like if a student comes to Episcopal High School and the Ivy League is their dream and they work hard to do it, it's certainly possible. The Ivy League is so challenging, and the statistics are definitely not in anybody's favor necessarily, but you can definitely do it from Episcopal.
Thank you.
那就是说EHS 的大家是一个大家庭嘛，所以就是学校也没有把就是中国学生或者是哪一个地域的学生分出来，但是呢就是说学生能够去到很不错的一些学校，就是过往几年里面其实也有一些中国学生是进到这个常春藤的学校的，所以就是当然常春藤无论是对于任何国籍的学生其实都是很有挑战的，所以大家都是会需要去努力去争取。
Okay. All right. So I guess this will be the last question for today. So just want to learn a little bit more about EHS, I guess, support system. So both academically and also on like, I would say emotionally. So as you know, these are teenage years, you know, so they might have challenges in their academic work, or they might have challenge of on the personal side. So what does EHS do, you know, to support, you know, these students?
Yes. Lots of support. And it's, you know, the hardest thing, and one of the first things that we teach our new students here at Episcopal is how to ask for help. And I think that can be the hardest thing for students to do. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, if a student is struggling, and whether it's academically or personally or emotionally or in any way, you know, asking for help, and maybe you don't ask the right person, but the person that you ask is going to be able to steer you in the proper direction. And so there are lots of different layers of support. Academically, of course, you know, your friends, you're living with them and you can ask them for help. We have peer tutors that are on duty for all of our major departments every single night. And so if you have a science question, you can go to the science tutor. And if you have a math question, you can go to the math tutor. Our faculty are, of course, here and available, and there are lots of times within our schedule during a day or a week where students and teachers can get together to go over things. We do have an academic support center as well, where that's in the academic support center is generally not for students that are just having a question about a certain topic that they didn't quite understand in class. Those tend to be a little bit more long-term issues with, you know, needing to, you know, learn how to take better notes, or how to, you know, attack a paper a different way, or maybe they have, you know, ADD or dyslexia or something like that, where they need some a little bit more specialized help to get through the academic program. But there are lots of different options that students can choose from academically. On the social and emotional side, you know, again, lots of things. You know, probably the most formal support system that we have are our counselors, and so there is a counseling office that's located in our main building. So they're kind of like front and center, and it's really easy to run into those counselors and to ask for an appointment, or just pop in for a chat if they need to. And so that's always available. I would say, again, faculty members, you know, the teachers, and this is pretty much all boarding schools, not just Episcopal, but at boarding school, teachers are not just teachers. You know, they are your dorm parents, they're your coaches, they are, you know, your like absentee, your parents, like while you're here. And so that's part of why boarding school teachers work at boarding schools, is because we want to have those relationships and have those conversations and to work with students. Then lastly, I would say, and this is probably both academic and personal / emotional, is the student's advisor. That is kind of the first person that students should go to. Just if they don't know who to talk to, the advisor will know, and the advisor will give them the proper advice to send them, you know, to go see the right person. And the sooner that students can ask for help and kind of ask those questions and to say, you know, I need a little bit more, the sooner they do that, the better, because then, you know, it's still maybe, you know, a smaller issue. And if you wait and you are maybe embarrassed and you think everybody's perfect and no one else is having problems, then that problem can get bigger and bigger. And I think teenagers think that they're the only ones that are going through these issues, when the reality is that everybody is struggling in some way at some time during an academic year. And it does not make you, weak or, less than somebody else to ask for that help. It's really important to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
那关于这个对于学生的支持，其实很多方面的。刚才 Ben 老师有讲了，就是说最重要的是要学生要学会寻求协作，因为就是你要主动去寻求帮助的话，其实身边有很多人都能够帮到你的。首先第一个就是你的那个 advisor， 就是你的 advisor 呢，就是会兼顾你的学术跟你的社交啊各方面情绪上面的问题，因为他是如果你去跟他说的话呢，他会帮你找到适合的一个人去帮你解决一些问题。如果在学术上面的话呢，当然你身边的朋友啊，有一些朋辈的那个就是导师啊，或者是不同的一些学校学术的老师都可以为你提供支持。那学校呢也有一个叫就是学术的支持中心，这个呢就不是说一些你对某一个课题不懂的这个去解决这些问题，就更多的是例如说像一些就是说如果是要时间的管理啊，或者是怎么去做笔记啊，或者是怎么能够更好的去写论文啊，或者是一些专业的一些协助的话呢，这个中心都能够帮助到孩子。那在于社交跟这个情绪方面呢，学校的这个主大流也有就是心理的咨询老师，所以就是随时也可以跟他们去交流啊，去倾诉你们的问题。然后就最重要的还是刚才讲的，不要去觉得害羞或者是觉得尴尬，就是说我有问题，因为其实大家都是在面临这样的一些挑战，所以就是能够说出你的问题，其实是很重要的第一步。
Okay. All right. I guess we'll probably stop it here. It went quite a lot over time, so thank you very much, Ben, for doing this with us today. And so hopefully we'll get to see each other in person soon.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope the airplanes are flying the friendly skies again, and I can visit your offices in Hong Kong, and you guys can come here and visit us.
Okay, thank you very much. 谢谢各位今天晚上来听我们的这个讲座。那我们就可能今天的话就会到这里，然后我们就注意微信吧，我们还会有下一波的这个学校会在微信上面通知大家的。谢谢。All right.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Good seeing you.
Goodbye. Have a good day.
Bye.